Yeah, so some events happened since our last episode. Give people a little bit of insight. You don't got to go all into it. I know you're working on it.
As far as
Like meeting with Quest, potentially getting some work in the.
why you put me on? You trying to put me on the spot like
No,
that?
I'm going.
Just can we talk?
You don't got to give too much insight. Just
You're
say,
right. You're right. So everybody knows that I have kinship, different bubbles. A big part of it that's coming soon is my creative side. So I'm like creative of this whole brand called Kintertainment that people aren't really hip to, and so it's really like quiet, it's sneaky. Like
Keep
I'm
it
trying
low.
to just come in and just be like, boom.
Right.
I just want to like surprise the world. But if you're watching Can We Talk, you know that it's coming soon, and I'm excited. Yes, I did get to meet with Quest. That was a fun time, man.
So big things are in store for King. I'm excited. I'm excited for the future in this year. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Shayna, what's been going on? You got a shout out to your daughters?
Oh, yeah. Yesterday we started our annual fundraiser for her competitive swim team. Okay. So, we take cash app, $ Razor Aquatics, a check, and there's also a website, 2019 fundraiser with a Z.
Okay.
.causevox.com. If you wanted to go directly, that's the general page. If you want to go to my directly to my daughter's page, is 2019 fundraiser.com. No, fundraiser.causevox.com /Jordan JORDYN -Mathis.
Okay, so how much are y'all trying to raise? What's the goal?
$30,000.
$30,000.
It is very expensive because we do not have our own facility, so we rent pool time at public schools. Right now we're out of two different public schools, one out of the city of Dearborn, a middle school, and then a high school out of Redford, Michigan. And they practice 6 days a week.
Wow.
So again, what's the fundraiser for?
It's for the pool fees. The pool fees are about they're tens of thousands of dollars a year. So at the same time of us trying to save so that we could so that the coach can build his own facility from the ground up, we need coaching fees so we can get our kids the correct type of training, and we're also trying to expand our team. In order to get on the team, you do not have to know how to swim. You just have to have like good athletic ability, and they will train you from not knowing how to swim to being a competitive swimmer.
Do you have this stuff for adults? Because I can't swim.
He does have adult lessons, but he is hard on the kids. So I'm scared.
Right.
How important it is for us to know how to swim.
Right, I'll drown. They be like,
It is, because to look at the kids, like while they're in practice and at swim meets, it is very inspiring to see how hard they work and to see how far the kids have come, like even with a short amount of time. Like I've seen kids that did not know how to swim, like, kill it in races, like in swim meets. And then you see adults, when he does the adult swim lessons, they be struggling.
They be out there just like. So did your daughter kind of know how to swim prior to joining, or was
she
this?
kind of knew how to swim. She was at a swim school for about a year prior to that. Before she tried out, when she tried out, it was like no water. It's like a no water test. She like had to run, sprint, sit ups, pull ups, and she, that's how she made her way onto the team. It's been almost a year. Okay. So
we got the Olympics in her future. Olympics
she's
20,
scared of the Olympics.
2030.
She's scared because she thinks that the pool is big.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's only 50 yards, Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, you swim 100 yards.
So she got this.
Like nothing.
But the thing is, you prepare her young, so once she gets to high school and, college, hopefully she gets that scholarship, go to Michigan State, hopefully.
I don't know after that nasty shit.
You say you don't know what? Yeah, for real. Sherman, what's going on in your world, man? We got any updates, any projects you working on?
Yeah, nothing as important, but no, it's kind of important. I haven't seen my dad in like over 10 years because he's down in Jamaica now.
Yeah.
And my lovely sister Sweelan, she used her own money to buy me a 2-week trip down there.
Wow.
So I'm leaving next Thursday.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it's gonna be
Shout
nice.
out to Sweelan. I've known her since she was like 3. She's like, what, 20 now?
Yeah, she's 20,
Wow.
and
Shit.
she loves her older brother, and she just went to see her father down in Florida. So she's like, oh, that's not fair. Sherman hasn't seen his dad, so she bought a ticket, and I'm leaving on Thursday. So
That's awesome.
it's gonna be really good. And then other than that, my 10-year-old son, he's at the house probably playing Fortnite right now. And so yeah, I can't wait to get back to him because I like Fortnite too. So
That's awesome. So it sounds like some great things are happening in everybody's lives. You know, for me, nothing special. Well, I did switch jobs recently, so I'm in a new gig, doing some diversity inclusion stuff. You know, so I'm excited for that. You know, continue to get some more people of color into these professions, and you know, to see what happens from there. But let's go to the next segment because I think for me, I'm just happy that this whole shutdown is over.
Is it though?
Is it
temporarily.
But it's temporary, right? So my frustration is that the fact in 3 weeks we can end up doing this again. But I'm happy that people are gonna get paid for their time off. They're gonna get back pay, I guess. You know, for the past couple of weeks they were out. But it's a step. But who knows where it's gonna lead? So my biggest fear is again in 3 weeks, same thing's gonna happen. You know, same impact is gonna be felt. The past 4 weeks is gonna be felt again. You know, for 3 weeks to follow. Did y'all hear about Roger Stone too? Y'all know Roger Stone?
Yeah.
That was.
I was looking at the news. Like they pulled up to my man's house 6 in the morning.
66 years old though. Like,
But it was hilarious the way they did it though. Six in the morning, put up to his house with guns, just like
like 12 people to arrest a senior citizen. Like
it's about
he's
time.
gonna make a
though.
run for it.
No, it's about
I
time.
mean,
We need some equal representation in terms of like policing, you know, on these politicians and these figures. Man,
They
'cause
had a funny skit on Saturday Night Live last night. It was
I
really
missed that.
hilarious. Like they had like the like a whole movie like action adventure, like people coming through the walls and just coming to get them. It was like
Just get on the
hilarious.
ropes.
And the black dude, I can't remember his name, Shay.
Oh,
On
yeah,
Saturday
yeah.
Night Live, he
Shay.
was talking about he finally excited because now, like you saying,
Yep.
we can see the same thing and how they come on black people. He was like, the
For
only
real.
thing that was missing is I wish he would have had on boxers and no shirt.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Then you
though.
would have saw that Nixon tattoo on his back.
Hey, that's kind of weird though. Did y'all see like at the end of his speech, after he came out of the courthouse, he did like the little Nixon salute. It was like, nah, this
missed
is
that.
nuts.
Nixon is a criminal.
Roger Stone is a character, though.
He is. Who would play Roger Stone in the movie? And when this is
Christian
all said-
Bale. He pulled off Dick Cheney.
He did
I
pull
think
off Dick
he can
Cheney.
I think he can do Roger Stone.
That's true. That is true. But I mean,
Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
I do him. No.
no. But you know what? I think that we're gonna in the next 10, 15 years, the movie that's gonna be made from this whole situation is gonna be hilarious.
It's gonna be a
And
Netflix special.
I'm still waiting on the Kwame Kilpatrick movie starring Forrest Whitaker. I
Free
was
Kwame.
waiting on that.
Forrest Whitaker.
Kwame.
I was waiting on that for so long.
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest.
I mean, he's bald, so he got that.
But Forrest Whitaker, of all people, you gonna choose him?
Yeah.
This is my man, Chadwick Boseman. He gonna play him. He play him all.
No.
man.
Yeah, he plays all the historical Negroes.
No, but that's pretty much it for my segment. Shayna, you got anything for hip hop?
J. Cole dropped a single. Is an album coming? Because like nowadays, it's like people drop singles, but it's like no album in sight.
Yeah.
I think he just does
Maybe.
what he wants to do. Really, he likes to keep his fans on their toes. It's not a bad marketing campaign either. I like the way J. Cole's surprise album drops.
Yeah, I just don't feel. I'm not into J. Cole like that.
Really?
I don't care
He's
for it.
alright.
It's cool. I mean, it's like it's a solid song, but I'm like, is it gonna give me just to play it multiple times? Probably not.
He has thought-provoking ideas. I like his
Yeah.
ideas. I like the ideas behind his music.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I wanted to give a. So did you like the J. Cole song, Middle Child?
I did. I enjoyed it. But like when we came in, I'm like, I don't have anything for my hip hop corner, and you like J. Cole.
'Cause you forgot
I
about it.
forgot about it. Like,
He's so man,
Forgettable.
he's forgettable as an artist.
Not at
No,
all. I disagree.
I'm not,
It's
we
not
ain't gonna do
forgettable.
him like that. But I did want to say that I did listen to Boogie's new album. Boogie is a new signee of Shady Records from Compton. He has a new album called Everything's for Sale. It's a short 40-minute album. It's pretty good. He's a conscious dude. Some people make similarities to Kendrick, but I think Boogie is his own artist. They're both similar, but they both have their own style. Great features. It had Black, it had Eminem, it had J.I.D. among some other people. Yeah, I think it went by good.
Okay.
So I'd recommend that. Everything's for Sale.
That's what's up. Anything else? Anybody listen to something?
I mean, it's not hip hop corner, but I'm just like, like me, I'm never one to talk shit about '90s babies, but
Hey, what's on
like
the
they
90s,
bring
baby?
it back, they coming with the good R&B. Like I can't even front.
You know what?
Like they're filling the void. They're bringing it back to the essence.
Yes.
Summer Walker, Daniel Caesar, her, Lucky
Yeah.
Day.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I think this
Wait. This is a pivotal moment here. Shayna is changing her mind about something.
That's true.
This is a pivotal moment.
So what do you think it is? You think it's just you think people were just missing that? Like the younger people was like, all right, I grew up off this. I was missing this sort of vibe that the 90s had. And they're just trying to fill that void, or what's?
I think so, because because I'm a 80s. I was born in the 80s, came up in the 90s. So by the time the Pied Piper, he kind of mixed the rap with and then people just took off with it, and then the auto tune, and Snoop making R&B songs. So
I feel you.
Things go in cycles, though.
It's true. Look at fashion, everybody wearing the stuff they wore back in the 80s and 70s. So.
90s, cross colors.
Right. Well, that's interesting, though. I got to listen a little bit more R&B, because that's for, like, this whole generation. I just kind of lost touch, because they just, I don't know, maybe I'm old. I'm just coming an old man, just like get off my lawn.
You always talking about you. Oh, and you're not even 30 yet.
Almost. A couple of years from it.
Oh, my God.
I'm feeling it.
Eric's just an old soul.
I
That's
was
what
about to
it
say,
is.
he has an
I
elder
think so.
demeanor.
I think so.
He's just an old soul.
Like kids these days, just don't know. Anthony, your 2 cents.
All right, I got 2 things. I'm gonna wrap up the first thing because, like, whatever. I went to see Serenity. It's a new film with Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, and Jason Clarke. So I'll just give you the brief synopsis. Matthew McConaughey plays a fisherman whose ex-wife, Anne Hathaway, comes to town and makes a proposition to him to kill her abusive husband, played by Jason Clarke. So her and Matthew McConaughey, their son is in this abusive home. She took him with her when she went and married this guy. So Matthew McConaughey is trying to wrestle with whether he wants to kill this guy. So there's a big surprising twist that comes in 2/3 through the movie that I think belonged to another film. When I say like that, I mean the surprising twist is just so unbelievable and wacky. I think it belonged to another script the writer was writing, so he just threw it in there like, okay, this is the big twist.
Wow.
I don't know how I feel about this movie, man. It's like I enjoyed it, but I was like, that twist came out of left field. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it's just like the twist is beyond M. Night Shyamalan laughable.
Well, speaking of M. Night Shyamalan, did anyone see?
I didn't. I still haven't
Bird
seen
Box.
Glass.
Oh
No,
no,
Glass.
Glass. I
Glass.
still haven't seen Glass.
I'm not gonna see
It's all
Serenity.
right. Hey, man, I say Glass was a little better than Serenity.
What?
I'll say that.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. It was interesting at the end, but
The first 2/3 were great to me in Glass. It's just the last third
Yeah.
that was like whatever. But we gotta talk about True Detective.
oh yeah,
True
that's
Detective has a new season with Marshawn Ali in the lead role.
Mahershala.
Mahershala Ali.
He's already shortened his name.
Mahershala Ali. Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Wait,
Thank
what was
you.
this-
Because
what's
I was
full
saying
name?
Marshala for the longest time. Mahershala. So he does a great job in the lead role. I'll say that. The performances are all great. You got Steven Dorff, a.k.a. the villain from Blade 1. You got Carmen E. Jojo. She does great. I'm not that excited about the mystery and the story.
Yeah.
I like the way they framing the story from the 80s, 90s to present day. But I don't know, Shayna, what do you think about the first 3 episodes?
I think they're very good, but the thing that kind of stood out to me, like his son is played by the same gentleman that plays Cyborg.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
sounds like Cyborg.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't
I'm like,
notice
he sounds like Cyborg. Dad. Like, I'm like,
He tries to
Cyborg.
add a southern twang to his voice, the son.
But yeah, I think it's it's very interesting. It's good to me so far. It started off way better than the second season. I was talking to my mom because she was like, I want to start watching it. I was like, watch the first season. You can skip the second one.
I'd say watch the first season, take a break, watch the second, but watch the second on its own. Like, don't compare it to the first.
I heard the first season and the third season have a lot of stuff in common. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a return to form because
Okay.
I guess the creator heard the notes that he got from the second season that he went a little too ambitious with it and just kept it down to like 2 detectives.
Okay.
I mean, it works. It works in most ways. It's just that the mystery to me isn't as compelling as it usually is. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of got the whole Paradise. Was it Paradise Lost? The documentary about the 3 gentlemen that were wrongfully convicted.
Yeah,
of murdering
Paradise
2
Lost.
Yeah.
Paradise Lost.
That's why I'm like, this kind of seems kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of small town place. Yeah, but it is solid. I give it that. It's solid.
Okay. All right. Is that it? Anything? Any Netflix shows? Any?
Man, I started Better Call Saul.
You just started?
I
that?
just started Better Call Saul.
pretty good.
Man, I've been fucking sleep.
It's pretty good.
It's really good.
The thing with that is I've been waiting for that show to end so I can like watch it all the way through because I'm a Breaking Bad fan. That's my favorite show. But I feel like with Better Call Saul, I want it to end just so I can watch the whole thing.
I don't know when it's gonna end. They just got renewed for a 5th season.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it's gonna end.
And they got a Breaking Bad sequel film coming out too.
I heard about that.
Really?
Yeah. It's gonna follow Jesse.
I'm gonna say, didn't that nigga die?
But I just
You did.
Spoiler.
but I just binge watched a British show called Top Boy. That,
Okay.
that went for 2 seasons. It's about drug dealers in this little like a ghetto neighborhood in Britain.
Wait. 2 British seasons? So like 10 episodes total?
No.
4.
Eight episodes. So it's 4 episodes a season. It goes by fast.
Like you said.
I know.
They get right to the point.
For real. That's what I like though.
I know Drake and Maverick Carter are executive producing the new 3rd season that Netflix is bringing back for like 10 more episodes. It's a solid show, man.
Yeah.
It goes by pretty well. It's more about the relationships than about the drug game itself. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Another good British show on Netflix, Sex Education. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
That's a
Saw
new
the
one.
trailer for it.
That's pretty good. So it's basically following this this kid from this British high school who gives his mother is a sex therapist, and he kind of gives good advice to his classmates about sex, and so they all kind of gravitate towards him. He becomes like the school.
So it's like the live action Big Mouth.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen it? You haven't seen it?
I've seen a few episodes of Big Mouth. I haven't
Yeah.
watched it regularly.
But it's kind of raunchy in the fact that again, it's a lot of.
I think Big Mouth is out to
Interesting
say
things.
something though. Big Mouth is out to educate in a raunchy way, but it's out to educate.
Yeah.
Big Mouth is my style. It's just I have so many other shows that I'm watching and trying to watch that I'm so far behind.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Sex Education is kind of weird because it's set in present day, but everyone kind of dressed like they're in the 80s. It's kind of weird. It's interesting.
It's like Legion.
They drive like 80s cars. They wear like these old, like colorful, shirts and yes.
Hey, I got one more thing. Shout out to Shayna. I started watching Billions. I really do like it. I'm in the 1st season. I enjoy it.
It's definitely a dialogue-driven show.
Yeah.
Well, I think that might be it for the segment. So let's go into the main topic, y'all.
All right.
And so today's topic, we're going to talk about sort of identity politics and what does it mean to truly be a Republican or Democrat as an African American. And so Sherman here, as we stated earlier, is a Trump supporter. He's an African American Trump supporter. I'm sure you get a lot of criticism for that, right?
I usually don't bring it up unless I trust the person.
Yeah.
How I play it, like when I'm at work or around a lot of people I don't know, I just stay neutral.
Yeah.
Like I'll question their belief or what their statement is as if I were on the other side, but I never like come straight out and start, being forceful with it. I just ask questions. I just love getting people's opinions, reason why they believe what they believe, and just leave it at that.
This is going to be a good dialogue because I think a lot of times we judge people based off of, who they vote for, what they believe. So this is going to allow us to have a true conversation, about political identity, what it means to be whether Black, Democrat, Republican, whatever that is, independent. So for you, Sherman, what was your driving or your mindset behind, voting for Trump for being a Republican?
Right. Like I said earlier, wasn't into politics, didn't care about it much. When I started seeing Trump on the news, like a lot of people did, he got all this free advertisement because of how much people hated everything he was saying and doing. I started saying it wouldn't be funny if he actually went somewhere because this guy is being shunned and laughed at by everybody. So I started paying attention a little bit, and I saw him getting more and more popular, and then I actually started listening to things he was saying. Clearly, he wasn't a politician by his speak. He was too brass and name-called, giving people these negative nicknames. But the things he was saying were simple, like trying to bring jobs back, fixing tariffs, things like that. Things I didn't really care about ahead of time. But once I started hearing him talk about it, it was entertaining watching him, so it made me find politics more entertaining. So then I actually listened more and researched more. And I don't know, once he became the nominee, I was like, well, I'm listening to both sides. I prefer his more, even if I don't like his technique, his brashness, and maybe his inexperience in general. And then I decided to vote for him. And, I had one cousin, Julius. He was actually the only person in my family that's actually on my side with him. Even though he criticized him too a little bit more than me, but I don't know. I feel like he would get the job better in the direction that I wanted than his opposition. And ever since then, anybody who knows that I support him want me to justify everything he says and does, which that's not my job, really.
I understand. So when you were looking at, you weren't involved much in politics, so did you vote prior to that, or was this like your first time?
Yeah, of course,
voting?
Obama, I voted for him, but just because he was black. Like, it's bad to say, but I'm sure it's true for a lot of colored folks.
You're being truthful.
Yeah, like, true. We never had a black president. I want to see him before I die, so let's put him in there. He came out of nowhere, no experience like that, but it was a chance to see what someone in of his skin color, which afterwards I realized it shouldn't really matter what color his skin is. I should have listened more to what he was promising, and then once he was in there, did he stick to those promises? But 9 out of 10, politicians will say whatever they need to get elected, and then once they're in there, it's like, what happened to all those promises? So I will admit.
We already know Shana got some beef with Brock.
See, I was about to say, I got a little
you ain't the only
disappointment in that man. He had a real chance to do some good, but.
I have a question. So help me if I'm wrong. So what I'm getting here is that when you were comparing, Trump to Clinton or the other nominees, Trump entertained you. He gripped you with his speeches.
Right.
So that was the main driving force behind your support?
It was the main driving force to be interested in politics. Okay. And then once I listened to what he was saying compared to others, he broke it down. He was like, he wasn't hiding behind political talk. He wasn't, making sure he had just the right hand gestures and, rehearsing a speech. It just sounded like he was coming from the heart. He felt more genuine. He felt like he didn't have something to gain as much as these other people. Like, debatable how rich he is. He was already rich and known and powerful. So these other people, they want that. They've been training their whole life to get the, highest position in the nation. And you can see that in him. It's like, dude, I'll say anything if you just vote for me. Where he was just, I don't know, talk from the heart. I care about this country, and I'd rather vote for that than somebody who just wants to get in there for the title. That's how it made me feel.
Yeah. There are points to that I agree with. I think that politicians are too sort of scripted. They're too just like, they play this role, this persona. When honestly, I just want somebody who's real, like who's gonna. Not going to change once they get in power. So I can agree with you on that regard. But for you, did you face any sort of, did you question your decision once he was elected? You started to see all this stuff happen, in terms of the negative stuff being brought up. Have you ever swayed away from Trump, or you kind of steady with backing him?
Well, I stayed steady. I don't know. I've always liked rooting for the underdog, and I feel like he has so much opposition. Obviously, the Democrat, but then all these Hollywood stars come out against him, late-night comedians, even people in his own party. He sucks. He's terrible. But then you listen to what they're complaining about. It's mostly his methods. They don't cry so much about what he's pushing for. They cry about his mean tweets and the fact that he's too brass and too unpresidential. So little talk is about what he's actually pushing for, which I think is the bigger picture anyway. So that's why I find it easier to just defend what he's fighting for as opposed to how he's fighting. So that's how I handle that.
I see that. So, Kenny, I know that you do a lot of stuff in the community, supporting people and creating programs. For you, as someone who sort of understands the plight, going on in the city of Detroit, struggles that people are going through, and you hear someone who may have an adverse sort of ideology that you may have, are there any ways, or is there anything you agree with him about, that you think that Democrats and Republicans should do better in order to support our community?
Well, first off, I agree with a lot of what he's saying. One of the troubles that I have now, because I grew up in a very Democratic home, not so much so now, right? I'm independent in my mind. Do I still vote Democrat in certain ways? Probably more Democrat than other ways, yes. But I do believe that there is it's a threat to what we really want in our communities when we kind of back one party and not understand the holisticness of the political system. And so saying that I hear exactly what he's saying in the fact that when people seen Trump, just like how people seen Bernie, they seen some type of challenging to the system that currently exists. And so when you hear somebody talking about, well, this person came out and they made me interested, they made me listen, it does change your perspective on how we even come into politics in the first place. Like he said, a lot of us voted for Barack because he was black, but we don't think about policy issues. We don't think about what we're gaining in the long term. We only think about the vote. And the political process is a whole process, you know, from educating yourself before that person comes in to actually getting to the booth to go out, cast your vote. And then after that, holding those people accountable, which a lot of times we slack on, and I feel, you know, I don't know. Even if Trump would have made me listen, looking at him after the fact, I still would question his policies and say, I'm going to hold you accountable because you're still not doing half of the stuff you said you were going to do, which is the thing with a lot of politicians, though. And so what I'm pushing for right now, and I've been having a lot of talks with people, because, you know, I have the brand of politicking, and one of the things I think is so important is voter education, but making us understand that we shouldn't be backing one party. I do not believe that. I think we need to become more strategic because black politics don't exist in 2019. And that's the thing that people have lost, and we get caught up when we think about even this idea. I like Barack for one reason. He was a symbolic president.
Right.
His symbolism across this trajectory of black politics was so important. Just like a Jesse Jackson, just like a Shirley Chisholm, all of these people who made strides to kind of open up the gate for us to kind of grow or evolve in the political world. Now, did he do things that I would have done in office? Hell no.
No.
But I feel like when we start thinking about politics differently, we have to organize. And I think we miss organization across spectrums, whether we believe in Republican views, whether we believe in Democratic views, Green Party, whatever you can choose to want to support. But we have to become more strategic because it's not wrong for us. I think in some counties we should be voting Democrat. In other counties it might be smart to be coming out and showing up Republican. But that comes on us being able to understand what it is we're fighting for and what we want.
And that's real. I think that the two-party systems that we align ourselves with in this country, it puts you into this box, and you have to choose. You have to pick and choose. And a lot of times, it's unfortunate that Democrats believe that they automatically have our vote, because I think that's definitely a disservice to us as a community. But we need to provide candidates who not only provide the symbol, who provide the symbolism like Barack Obama did, but also the substance. And with the 2008 election, like you said, it was all about just getting him in office. You know, I think that was just the main thing. We wanted to see that our country was making progress just socially, that we were at the point where we can elect a black man. Now in 2019, I'm like, all right, we're going to need to find somebody, regardless of what you look like, who you are you benefiting our communities? Are you truly preaching, you know, practicing what you preach? And I think that Trump, to an extent, he gave people, especially Republican rural voters, this sense of like he's looking out for me, my interest, right? He does pander to the black people in some ways, you know, say, oh, we're gonna come in, lower crime, we're gonna put in, you know, more policing, whatever that may be.
What you got to lose?
What have you got to lose?
What do you got to lose?
Right. What you got to
That
lose?
came to
But
mind.
to me, that was a valid question.
Yes.
That is
Because
true.
what I mean, other than the rise of hate groups,
Right.
what has happened to black people under Trump that did not happen under Obama? And to piggyback off of what she said, during the Obama years, black journalism failed us. They failed us completely. We could not critique Obama without some sort of backlash. Everybody trying to get into the party. Oh, Jill Scott gonna be at the White House, so I want to keep my press pass so I can see Stevie Wonder, and you know, everybody trying to keep their press pass so they don't critique Obama or his policies, or you know, or how they negatively affected or they did not help black people while he was in the White House.
And also to piggyback off that, what did black people ask Obama for? This is the
Hope and
only
change.
side that I'll ever, that's the only like backing that I'll ever give him, is that out of all of these groups, when you look at the LGBTQ community, when you look at some of these other communities, even white folks, when you look at black people, what did we ask him for? On an organized platform.
I have my issues with Tavis Smiley and Dr. Cornel West, but we owe them an apology. We owe them, because those were the only two prominent black people that was like, hey, what you gonna do for black people? Hey, what are you going to do on poverty? And then you have people like Al Sharpton, like, well, we gonna wait till the second term. Like, well, what good is that gonna do?
No organization across
I
our
gotta say
front.
I'm split. I gotta say I'm split. I see both sides, but at the end of the day, I mean, I see what y'all saying, and I'm with y'all on that. But my other side of me is saying, well, he's the president of the United States, not just black people.
Black people built this country.
But you also have to look at the president is only a figurehead. They don't have all the control. That's why you have 3 branches of government. So the president can try to do as much as he can, or she can within their power. But ultimately, you got the judicial and you got the legislative who are making a lot of the decisions.
And if you can't verbalize why something needs to be done, then you shouldn't be a politician.
True.
And
I agree.
Like you said, you're gonna do so much as president, which I feel like as Trump, even if you have all this fear of what he's gonna do, like you said, there's checks, and they've stopped him when they felt like he was doing too much. And then with Obama, it's like, what did he push for that didn't go through? Like, even if he was trying to do things that would have better, African Americans and minorities, whatever, show evidence of trying, and then when he gets shot down, we can say, hey, why did you shoot that down? But it wasn't a lot there to even criticize that or have that opinion.
I would contest that slightly. I think that for the first couple of years of Trump's term, he had Republican House, Senate, obviously the presidency. So he was passing executive orders, without oversight of the legislative or judicial. He was he had the House and Senate to pass policies at his discretion. And now, even with the border wall situation, he could have did that his first year. He had the House, he had the Senate. He could have got legislation passed, and that could have been done. But I think he's creating this narrative that, the Democrats in legislature aren't doing their job, or they're being they're fighting them tooth and nail. But that's not the truth. He could have literally passed this his first week if he was in office. He wanted to.
He ain't get the wall because Mitch McConnell don't want the wall.
Mitch McConnell.
I can't stand Mitch McConnell though. Him personally, I think that he, as a politician, he's kind of a coward. He's backing. I think he might have called out Trump during the primaries prior to the election. He was calling out Trump, and a lot of Republicans in the Senate did too. But then once he get in power, he's using him now as a tool to get everything that the Republicans want. Right. So that's kind of a coward way to look at him, though.
Well, you can go ahead. I was going to ask a different question.
Yeah, because I want to stay on this. Because I've heard that from my friends, like, well, why did he wait 2 years? And I thought that was a valid point, because I thought about it. All the Republicans said, this Obamacare is bad. We should get rid of it. And then when Trump says, let's get rid of it, who says we shouldn't do it? Of course, Democrats did, but it was John McCain and a couple other Republicans. They flipped their position. And then when the tax reform was trying to go through, he had to convince Republicans, look, don't falter on this. We said we want to pass this. So I feel like even if he wins, most of the Republicans, there's still some that no matter, even if it follows what they want, they look at him and say, nah, we don't want to agree with you. So I think the wall thing is the same thing. He's not just fighting Democrats, he's fighting Republicans.
But some of his dudes just a bad policy, though.
Yeah, well,
I mean, sometimes.
But it's policy that they've supported before. That's the problem. I don't understand.
I mean, but the narrative with the border wall is that, yes, there's been policy to build security along the border,
right?
But there's been no policy to build 500 miles of wall, right? You're looking at weak points that aren't cut into people's land, that isn't cutting through the Rio Grande. You have natural barriers that exist on the border that you don't need a wall. You don't necessarily need a wall. How about looking at increasing security measures through technology, through the use of like drones, through the use of other avenues as opposed to this physical structure that doesn't work. So I mean that's the only difference, because obviously physical barriers, there's ways to get over, above, and around. There's the largest border in the world is the U.S.-Canadian border, right? So there's ways to get into the United States. So I think that's just a scare tactic people are using.
I think the issue, and I don't think Trump is smart enough to verbalize this, is the birthright citizenship.
Scary.
We are the only first world country with birthright citizenship. There are even I can't go to Nigeria and have a baby, and then that baby be a Nigerian citizen. So, and there are people that know the value of U.S. citizenship. So they'll get pregnant in their home country and then come over here and have a baby. And then there are a lot of people that come here and work, and then they send the money back home. And, I mean, American middle class, you got to have, what, 150 between, you know, hard and liquid assets.
Right.
That's not the same in Mexico. So you can come here, make $16 an hour, save for 5 years, and then go back to Mexico and live a middle class life.
Look, I definitely understand that that's an issue.
And
but
then the birthright citizenship, it wasn't created for immigrants. It was created in a time where this country was only black and white people. That policy was created for descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of policies that were created for people that came from slavery, that the people that are now here that came from slavery and sharecropping, they don't benefit from these policies at the rate of immigrants and white women.
But the issue, though, it becomes an issue when other people outside of, again, in the early 1900s, 1920s, when you had Italians, Polish, Irish immigrants coming through New York, that wasn't a problem, right? They were coming in droves and in floods, especially with the turn of the century.
But if you study the time of Ellis Island, that was intentional. There were only, like, they allowed thousands and thousands of European immigrants to come in, but there was a cap on the amount of people from India that can come here, the amount of people, I think it was
From
like
China,
maybe
was
two from each African country could come a year.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying, though, is that, again, these policies are only a problem when black and brown people are the ones who are benefiting from it, right? And so I think that in terms of national security, there's this false narrative. Yes, there are problems. Yes, there are people who have been, bringing over drugs, who have murdered people. But the same could be said for just everyday citizens of the United States, right? I think we're kind of hyperinflating this crisis to the point where it's pitting people against each other when ultimately only a small group of people are kind of affected by this, and those are the ones who live by the border areas, right?
I want to switch gears for a second. I have a question for Sherman, and you don't have to get personal here if you don't want. But when we're talking about identity politics, is there anything personal in your personal relationships that changed once you became like a Trump supporter, or at least like let someone or someone close to you know that, hey, I'm going with this guy?
Personally, no. Like I said, I only expose how much support I have for him on people that I trust. Okay. I have my one cousin that we're on the same page on most things, but he still criticizes him a little bit. In my household, my roommate, he's kind of on the fence. He doesn't show loyalty to either side, really. Just listens, gives his opinion. So, no, like, and my mom, it's funny because I don't know where she stands because she'll listen to what I say and she'll agree with my points, and then I'll bring up that it's, one side that I got it from, and she just says, oh, okay, and then, like, walks away. I don't know if I changed her mind or got her thinking more about, well, I know I definitely got her thinking more about politics, which is all I really want. Like, I don't go around hoping to change everybody to think the way I think or agree with the things that I agree with. I just want them to think about why they believe what they believe, and to take the time to investigate. Like, if you don't believe what I'm saying, look it up. If you want to check if you've been believing, just give different perspective. That's what I like to try to get people to do.
I've had my friendships like change because I've expressed empathy for black people that have like checked out of the voting process. Me myself, I haven't checked out of the voting process, but for me to express that I understand why you don't want to participate, I've gotten pushback from that. I've had people unfollow me on social media. I've had people, kind of like distance themselves from me in real life because I've expressed empathy towards those people or people that decide to vote third party. I value people. I value my relationship with people. If I've built a relationship with you, you saying I voted for Trump or I voted for Jill Stein, or I'm not voting because I don't see what it's going to do for me. I'm not gonna disregard you. I'm not gonna throw you away.
And now to think about it, my father's side of the family, I see them like twice a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And now that I think about it, the year before the election, or right after the election, I went to see them for Christmas, and it was my uncle there, and he was talking about how terrible Trump was, and I was questioning him, well, what's so bad about him? And it came out, and they was like, wait, are you a Trump supporter? And I was like, yes. And then they all kind of like looked disappointed and sad, and you know, they always compliment me on how intelligent I am, but when I pick something that goes against what they believe, it's just like, oh, well, you're one of them, kind of like shoot me off. So now in past the last couple times, we don't even bring up politics because I don't want to feel alienated like that. But
I can definitely connect to that
Yeah.
because I have some relatives that didn't vote because of religious reasons. And sometimes when I hear them complain about Trump, I'm like, well, you didn't vote, so you had a. I mean, I get it. I get religious allegiances. I get rules, but I kind of say to them like, well, you didn't vote, so do you really have a right to complain?
Yes.
Like, oh well, you know, I'm on the Lord's side. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on the Lord's side too, but you know.
I think the right to vote also comes with the right not to vote.
I like that. Yeah.
So
Sure.
if you opt out of that for religious reasons or because you don't see a personal benefit, then that's your right.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's fair, but it's also kind of scary that every vote is equal and everybody can vote. So even a person that spends hours studying the topics and the issues is the same person just shows up to vote because they can vote. I mean, I guess you can't really put a requirement that you know the issues, but it seems like you get better results some way. I don't know. That's not fair, but
Well, the Voting Rights Act of, I think, 1964 or something like that. That'd be against sort of the rule, because that'd be not a voting tax. But you can't force someone to take a test or pay a fee to vote. It's a basic right. But I understand that people need to be more educated on the issues.
Right.
That's definitely true. But ultimately, I think whatever your decision is, do it. Like it's just your life. It's just your your opinion, your thoughts. So I'm not going to tell you to conform to any certain idea. But I agree. I think more people need to sort of read up on who they're voting for, the policies, and sort of the background of the people who they're electing to these positions. But a big problem is that a lot of rural white voters are the same way. So some people think like, oh, black people, they all vote for Democrats, but a large swath of white rural voters vote for Republicans faithfully without even considering any other candidates. So we talk about this from the black perspective, but we can't miss them. Like they're the same way. They just faithfully devote themselves to this party because they claim that their party is going to look out for their best interests, and they rarely do. They rarely do. So it goes both ways.
A lot of black people, like I'm not one of the people like, black people stupid because they vote Democrat, and now at one point in time we got something out of the Democratic Party. There was a point in time where we got something out of them, so I get it. Yeah. But at the same time, to go off of what Kenya said, like we shouldn't like just be in one box. Like you shouldn't just automatically assume that you have the black vote just because you're a Democratic nominee.
And I mean, historically, the Democrats were champions of obviously social issues like civil rights movements and all that. But as we began to progress, and that stuff became not necessarily less important, but became an afterthought. The Democrats say we're champions of fighting for those in poverty, fighting for those who are marginalized. But again, sometimes I need to see it. I need to see what you're doing in reality. And sometimes, we don't really see a lot of that. It's a lot of pandering. A lot of coming to the black churches and the communities and saying what they're going to do. And then once elected, that's not happening.
Another thing, too, I think we should think about is that there is identity politics within our identity politics.
Yeah.
And it's like we're living in a world that we can't even disagree. Your politician versus whoever you voting for, you're not going to agree with everything. But it's about the collectivity. And I think, again, one of the things that somebody was talking about, I was watching a show, maybe that was Bill Maher, but it was this idea of civics not even being involved in our, education anymore. So we're starting off not even understanding the Constitution, you know what I'm saying, how this whole body is supposed to work. And I think that we get caught up in little things that really don't even matter. It's really about the collectivity of people in your environment, your community. Are my taxes going to education and the roads like they say they are? Are you picking my trash up on time? Like, we don't even look at the little things. And when this past year working in education, when the water crisis hit hit Detroit, we knew it was happening in Flint, but it came out in the city, and people didn't stand up for that. That's a part of politics. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that's a basic right, you know, and it's a need on top of that. And it's like we don't even speak up on issues that matter across the board. And so it's like, for me, it's like now I'm in a place where we really just got to educate each other. Because it's like, ain't no politician going to serve nothing all holistically and what we really want. But what are we even voting for at this point if we're not even getting basic needs like water, housing, shelter, education? All our taxes is going to this stuff. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat at this point.
And that's real. And a lot of people out here say, "Oh, I'm not following politics. I'm done with politics." But like you said, politics intersects with every single part of our society. So if you're not following it, then your basic rights, your health care, going to paying taxes, everything that you touch is interconnected with politics and sort of this idea of policies being able to sort of being drafted to impact you in some way. And so I hate that argument where people just like, "Hey, I don't do politics," because you will be impacted at some point down the line.
Well, that's just barbershop talk, though, because people in the barbershop say, "Man, I don't care who's in president. I care about street politics." But it's all connected. I think it's just front and talk when people say that.
So Sherman, I know you got a lot of pushback from your family and stuff. What do you typically tell those who, question who you are, just question your blackness because you vote for Republican?
Thankfully, I don't have that. I've never had that happen directly, like question my blackness. Quita and her mom, my cousin Quita, they are real adamant about loving, Barack Obama and black people in general, really. But so I try not to talk politics around them, but they do kind of like question, like, how could you have these beliefs when you grew up? We all grew up under the same beliefs, like Democrat all the way. But I always try to go back to, look, I'm not saying you have to change your mind, but why not listen to different sides? Like, if all you hear is the same thing for your whole life, how can you know the other side is wrong? You never even listen to what they have to say. So, thankfully, like I said, they don't attack me directly with that, "Oh, you're not black." But I feel like if I were attacked like that, I don't know, I'd kind of ignore it, because you can't have it like they complain that there's no blacks on the Republican side, like, "Oh, they're racist, a bunch of white folks." But then when anybody tries to show support that is a minority, and it's like, "Oh, well, you're a sellout, Uncle Tom." Like, what the hell? You can't win, really. It's quite unfortunate.
That's real, though. The biggest concern I see, too, is that we just can't have these conversations anymore because it's almost like polar extremes, in terms of thoughts and in terms of what we watch. So, like, do you watch mainly Fox News? Do you watch MSNBC, CNN? Like, do you read things from both sides, or do you kind of just stay within one?
Yeah, I listen a lot more to talk radio, and then I got a few YouTube subscribers I like to listen to. But then I'll occasionally look at CNN, look at Fox News. It's way more entertaining from commentators on the net, and they show clips and they tell me what they say. And if I don't believe them, I can always look it up directly. Yeah. But I definitely, like I said, I just love information in general. I love to see why you believe what you believe, and then why do you not believe what I believe. So yeah, I get a nice mix of all the news.
So when you hear a lot of supporters, like Trump supporters, who, again, some of them, I'm not saying all of them are racist, but some of them do show sort of racial, or say racial things, racial epithets that may be offensive to some. Like, how do you sometimes justify that?
Yeah, I justify that by saying, who cares? Like, they've thrown out the racist card so much now. It's like we were saying earlier, if you criticize Barack Obama on his politics, it was just considered racist. Like, okay, if just talking about an idea that happens to belong to a black guy in a negative way is considered racist, then now I don't care about that word. And it's scary because then real racism gets overlooked. But now when somebody says something like with the old, what do you have to lose? Because you've been voting for these Democrats, and what do you have to lose? That's considered racist because I'm saying give a white president a chance or Republican a chance. So it loses that meaning. And like, so I don't even acknowledge that type of argument. If you want to argue about why a policy we're talking about will hurt, the blacks, okay, we can talk about that. But to just jump to name calling is such a lazy and easy way out. So thankfully, I don't even talk to people like that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's one of those things where I've seen a lot of liberal, Democrats liberal white Democrats who do say racial things as well, right? Who are racist within themselves. And so but I feel like anyone who shows sort of an inkling of anyone who kind of shows sort of like an inkling of racial thought or racial ideology or racist ideology, I mean, you do got to call it out. You can just personally, I wouldn't say I don't care. I'm gonna call it out if I see it.
Yeah,
right. So I think it's important to hold people accountable within that, but I also do understand that you kind of water down what racism truly is when you call everything racist, right? And I think we had a discussion about that before on the show previously, but and it's been a great discussion. It's been insightful.
That time flew by.
Seriously, it's been insightful. Any last words anyone want to say?
Oh, I just want to thank you for coming on because we here at Can't We Talk, every guest is an important guest and we do care about perspective. And, we respect your opinion and we just wanted to hear it from the other side and see, what you were coming with.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm glad I reached out to Shannon. I'm glad she got back to me. Like I said, I was super nervous to come on, but
you don't got to be nervous.
Yeah, you got to be nice.
Right.
I do love it.
Points.
Yeah, and I'll definitely come back. Just one thing that I was reminded of because of the whole State of the Union being moved or canceled, I was reminded of how when Trump was up there on another State of the Union and he announced that unemployment for blacks was historic low, and then you pan the camera to the Black Caucus and nobody was clapping. Like, even if you hate the guy, can you at least love this number that is so low for the blacks? No one wanted to clap, and I thought that was sad.
Those numbers are debatable,
right?
Even if they are, but
that is a direct result of what happened to the Department of Labor under Barack Obama.
That's fine, but whether it's his fault or not,
we
should clap for the information, right? Regardless of the messenger. But no, they just sat there.
I have an issue with the numbers, and it's not Trump's fault. It's Obama's fault.
Data can always be skewed in different ways, but that's a whole nother conversation. We want to thank you, Sherman. Man, I appreciate it.
Right,
thank you, Kenya.
Thank you,
Kenya.
Thank you, Kenya.
Kenya's coming back.
I'm part of the team now.
Yeah, like and share on Apple, SoundCloud, and Facebook. Comment, give reviews, give feedback, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.